Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, the 7th of October. I'm Erin Viner. This is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. We open here in the capital, which was once again the site of terrorism today, when a young Palestinian woman stabbed a 35-year-old Jewish man in the Old City. Despite moderate stab wounds to his upper body, the victim managed to shoot and critically injure his 18-year-old assailant. Both were evacuated to the Hadassah Hospital at Ein Kerem for medical treatment. Today's attack took place on Haggai Street near the Lions Gate, close to the site of last week's attack that claimed the lives of 2 other Israelis.
Female terrorist stabbed a 35-year-old man who was injured, likely to moderately, and has been taken to the hospitals inside Jerusalem. Immediately, police units responded at the scene. The female terrorist was shot by the man who was stabbed. We're continuing to investigate the incident that took place, the attack here in the Old City a few minutes ago. Heightened security is continuing, both in and around the Old City, with more than 3,500 police officers in and around the different areas, including border police, undercover units, and special patrol units.
Residents of Tekoa were today warned to remain in their homes during a rock-throwing attack by local Palestinians. The assailants ambushed a 38-year-old woman driving from the Gush Etzion town toward the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Har Homa. Ricky Levo-Chayun said that around 20 Palestinians surrounded her car near the Beit Sahur checkpoint, then smashed her windshield with rocks and started kicking her after forcing the door open while trying to pull her out. She managed to fight off her assailants and lock the door and contacted police after driving away. She added that she was convinced that the mob would have killed her if they'd been able to extricate her from the car. 7 other vehicles were also damaged in that attack.
And all of a sudden, a group of about, 50 Arabs from the nearby village started charging Beit Sahur, started charging at my car with blocks, cinder blocks and rocks. They were charging with murder in their eyes. They injured a few people who were already getting treatment over there at the checkpoint. They smashed windows. Somebody was bleeding from their face. You can see the picture on my Facebook page. Women crying in trauma. And the most upsetting thing to me is that the soldiers at the checkpoint, at the Mahsom, said, "We can't leave this point. We're not moving. We're not doing anything. Wait until somebody gets there. If you want to handle it, go handle it. Go handle it yourself." That was the instruction I was given. I mean, this is not the security we were told about just 24 hours ago, that Israel is going to do everything necessary.
In the third attack within hours, an IDF soldier was stabbed while struggling with a Palestinian who assaulted him after he got off of a bus in the southern city of Kiryat Gat. After stealing the soldier's weapon, the assailant fled into a nearby residential building and opened fire at police who rushed to the scene. The suspect died after being hit by retaliatory gunfire. The soldier was evacuated to hospital for treatment to light stab wounds to his head. Security in and around the Old City of Jerusalem remains heightened, with more than 3,500 police and border patrol officers, including special undercover and anti-terrorism units, deployed across the city. Police Commissioner Ben Sitzau told reporters that, given the level of violence and the tension gripping Jerusalem, he has no plans to scale back that deployment for months to come. 7 residents of East Jerusalem were arrested by security forces overnight on suspicion of involvement in the recent unrest raging in the capital. The detainees included 4 minors. Since the Rosh Hashanah New Year's holiday last month, 270 Palestinians and Arab Israelis have been arrested in connection with the disturbances. Meanwhile, during another overnight raid, border police discovered and seized a large arsenal of 15 firebombs from a home in the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Atur. Amid intensifying concern that the conflict may erupt into another intifada, sporadic clashes between security forces and Palestinians continue throughout the West Bank. Near the Kalandia checkpoint between Jerusalem and Ramallah, Palestinians hurled rocks at police in riot gear, who responded with the firing of rubber bullets and the throwing of stun grenades. 6 police officers were lightly wounded during a demonstration by Arab Israeli citizens in the mixed Jewish-Arab city of Jaffa last night. The participants gathered to protest against recent measures taken by the government to restore calm at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Among the protesters were members of the hardline northern branch of Israel's Islamic movement. The protest was held without a permit and turned violent when several masked activists began hurling rocks at security forces and also blocked main intersections along the city's central Yefet Street. At least 4 of the rioters were arrested. In his annual address to the foreign media, President Reuven Rivlin today hosted a group of journalists at his official residence in Jerusalem. The president told those gathered that Israel has no plans nor intention to alter the status quo on the Temple Mount. And he went on to blast Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas for spreading insightful lies about the situation at the holy site.
We hear again and again lies about Israel's intention toward the holy mountain, holy to Jews and Muslims. Let me be very clear. Israel has no intention whatsoever to change the status quo. But this status quo, this important understanding, needs two sides to keep it. When the leader of the Palestinians say that dirty Jews are spoiling the holy city, the world must speak out. We will continue to respect Muslims' prayers and at the site of the mosques and the shrine. But Muslims must respect the Jewish connection to Jerusalem, the Jews who lived in Jerusalem and the Jews who visit its holy sites.
Officials at the U.S. State Department are denying reports that Israel was issued an ultimatum earlier this week threatening that Washington will not veto a proposed United Nations Security Council resolution declaring West Bank settlements illegal if the Netanyahu government announces further construction in the disputed territory. Deputy State Department spokesman Mark Toner dismissed those reports that were circulating in the press regarding the issue as false and baseless. He went on to stress that even though the Obama administration does not regularly address rumors, it was decided to stop this one cold. The denial followed reports in local media that during a meeting with his security cabinet earlier this week, the Prime Minister rejected calls from senior ministers to expand settlement building in the West Bank as a response to the increase in terror out of concern over the purported U.S. warning about the UN resolution. In the wake of the current security situation, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has canceled his planned trip to Germany that was slated for tomorrow. Joining me now in the studio to discuss the latest developments, including the government's efforts to combat the ongoing wave of terror, is the Prime Minister's spokesman, Mark Regev. Hi, Mark. Thank you very much for coming in this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Now, does the Prime Minister's cancellation of his summit in Berlin indicate that he believes that we're on the verge of even a greater escalation of violence?
We're seeing over the last week or so more and more violence, and it's unacceptable. And the Prime Minister sees it as his job and his obligation to be here and to make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect the Israeli people and to thwart these attacks. Now, the Prime Minister wanted to go to Germany. We'd been planning this trip for a long time. But unfortunately, he believes now he needs to be here. The message was passed on to the German government. They understood. Let me say, we thank the German government. We knew that they went to a lot of effort to plan for tomorrow's meetings in Berlin. And hopefully we'll be able to have those meetings in the not too distant future.
Now, of course, the Prime Minister has he's declared a full-fledged war on terrorism. But how confident is he that these latest series of measures will quell the violence rather than exacerbate Palestinian rage?
We have, over the last few days, really beefed up the police and security presence in Jerusalem and in the West Bank. And I have no doubt that those extra forces are saving lives. And we think through a policy of active defense, in other words, a stronger security presence, going out proactively arresting known activists, known people involved in violence, that we can thwart these attacks and protect the Israeli public.
Now, many critics are arguing that unless peace talks with the Palestinians are revived, a third intifada may erupt. How open at this point is the Prime Minister to a dialogue?
The Prime Minister said just last week at the United Nations he's willing to restart peace talks with the Palestinians without any preconditions whatsoever. That is his position. That's been his position. But let's be clear here. This violence is rooted in an irrational hatred. Those mendacious allegations out there propagated by the Islamists that somehow there's a threat to the Muslim holy sites on the Temple Mount. Now, this is baseless. This is ridiculous. But unfortunately, It's not just coming from the Islamists, it's coming also from the PA. Even the Palestinian president himself, Mahmoud Abbas, has used language about Israelis, about Jews, defiling the Muslim holy sites. And this is the core reason now for the violence. And I'd ask those Europeans and others who see President Abbas as a partner in peace, they must demand of him that he immediately cease this sort of language, this sort of rhetoric, which is only inflaming what is already a difficult situation.
What about right here at home? What is the Prime Minister's response to those who argue that the best answer and the best way to combat terror is the expansion of West Bank settlements?
The Prime Minister is taking all the steps necessary to protect the people of Israel. And I can tell you, since we returned from the United Nations on Sunday, he's been at it 24/7 with the Security Cabinet, with the senior members of the National Security Team, with the military, with the police, with the intelligence services, to do everything that can be done to protect our people and to bring the perpetrators of this sort of violence to justice.
Now, of course, you were with the Prime Minister in New York when he gave his address to the United Nations General Assembly. So, in your assessment, how was his message received?
I was actually, as you say, in the hall when he spoke, and the truth is I think his speech was one of the best speeches the Prime Minister has given. On the one hand, he spoke about Iran and the dangers of the nuclear deal with Iran, and unfortunately we're going to see a more aggressive Iran with more resources to advance its aggression. And at the same time, he held out his hands for peace with the Palestinians, but he pointed to the very issues that we spoke about today, in that the Palestinian president pretends in front of the whole world that he's a partner in peace, and we hope he'd be a partner in peace. But unfortunately, he is collaborating in this violent language, this stirring up of feelings that somehow there's a Jewish threat to the Muslim holy sites when nothing could be further from the truth. And I think it's time that the international community called him out for this. It's time that he was demanded that he behave responsibly, and that the Palestinian Authority not be a partner of the Islamists in propagating these sort of irrational fears.
Mark, as always, very good to have you with us. Thank you very much for coming in this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Turning to financial news, and the shekel today put in a mixed performance against all major foreign currencies, while share prices on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange were up across the board. Here are the afternoon numbers. Tomorrow we can expect further isolated rain showers, mostly in the north and along the coast, with a slight rise in temperatures that will remain unseasonably low. Here's the forecast at home and abroad over the next 24 hours. On a personal note, before closing, I just want to say that this very well may be my last day at IBA News due to the dismantling of the Israel Broadcast Authority.
Irina, I can say on behalf of, I think, many of your viewers, thousands of viewers that you have around the world, that you will be missed. You've been a cornerstone of IBA's English news coverage. I know that you have many fans across all continents, and you will be dearly missed. You have sat in that chair with dedication and with tenacity, asking the difficult questions, covering the news from Israel, and I know that you are greatly, greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much, Mark. Oh, and we have another visitor. This is my daughter, Mayan.
Just want to tell you how much we love you and how much I am proud to call you my mother and my role model, and what a great job you've done.
Thank you very much. You know, I may not be the last Viner you see. My daughter, Mayan, is about to start university at Hebrew U, studying journalism and international affairs, very much like myself.
Welcome to the team, Mayan.
Thank you. I hope you do as well as she has.
Thank you both for a wonderful send-off. And I just would like to say to all of the viewers, thank you for being with us this afternoon. And please do follow me on my Facebook page, Erin Viner IBA, as well as the IBA Facebook page called IBA News for any further updates about our broadcasts and our scheduling. I'm Erin Viner, wishing you shalom from Jerusalem. Wonderful song. Thank you. I was looking down and I heard that. Thank you. That's really good. Thank you. That was great. I can't believe you came. At front. It wasn't in the right place, so I blew it. I was like, had to look down.